Dai Shugyo, Great Practice by Eihei Dogen from Shobogenzo, the Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. When Zen Master Dai Chi of Hyakujozan Mountain in Koshu, successor of Baso, called Ikai in his lifetime, gives informal instruction, an old man is generally present. He always listens to the Dharma along with the monks, and when the assembly retires, the old man also retires. Then, unexpectedly, one day he does not leave. The master eventually asks him, "What person is this standing before me?" The old man answers, "I am not a person. In the past age of Kashyapa Buddha, I used to live as master on this mountain. Once a practitioner asked me, 'Do even people in the state of great practice fall into cause and effect or not?' I answered, 'They do not fall into cause and effect.' Since then, I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. Now, I beg you, Master, to say for me a word of transformation. I long to be rid of the body of a wild fox." Then he asks, "Do even people in the state of great practice fall into cause and effect, or not?" The Master says, "Do not be unclear about cause and effect." At these words, the old man immediately realizes the great realization. He does prostrations and says, "I am already rid of the body of a wild fox, and would like to remain on the mountain behind this temple. Dare I ask the Master to perform for me a monk's funeral ceremony?" The Master orders the supervising monk to strike the block and to tell the assembly, "After the meal, we will see off a deceased monk." All the monks discuss this among themselves, saying, "The whole community is at ease, and there is no sick person in the Nirvana hall. What is the reason for this?" After the meal, the Master is seen leading the monks to the foot of a rock on the mountain behind the temple, and picking out a dead fox with a stick. They cremate it according to the formal method. In the evening, the Master gives formal preaching in the Dharma hall and discusses the preceding episode. Ubaku then asks, "The man in the past gave a mistaken answer as a word of transformation and fell into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. If he had not made any mistake at any moment, what would he have become?" The Master says, "Step up here, I will tell you." Obaku finally steps up and gives the Master a slap. The Master claps his hands and laughs and says, "You have just expressed that a foreigner's beard is red, but it is also a fact that a red beard is a foreigner." Owen realized just now, is great practice itself. As the old man says, Hyakujo Mountain in Koshu exists in the past age of Kasyapa Buddha, and Hyakujo Mountain in Koshu exists in the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha. This is a real word of transformation. Even so, the Hyakujo Mountain of the past age of Kasyapa Buddha and the Hyakujo Mountain of the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha are not one. Neither are they different. They are not 3 and 3 before, and not 3 and 3 after. The Hyakujo Mountain of the past has not become the Hyakujo Mountain of the present. The present Hyakujo Mountain was not formerly the Hyakujo Mountain of Kasyapa Buddha's time. Even so, there is the old man's pronouncement that I used to live on this mountain. The old man's teaching for the practitioner is akin to the teaching of the present Hyakujo for the old man, and the question which once a practitioner asked is akin to the question that the old man asks now. When doing one thing, it is impossible to do another. If we neglect the first move, we will be flawed at the second. The practitioner of the past asks, to even people in the state of great practice on the Hyakujo Mountain of the past fall into cause and effect or not? This question could certainly not be understood easily or in haste. The reason I say so is that for the first time since the Buddha Dharma spread east during the later Han era of Eihei, and since the ancestral master came from the west during the Liang era of Futsu, due to the words of the old wild fox, we hear the question of the practitioner of the past. It had never existed previously, so we can say that it is rarely heard. When we have groped for and grasped great practice, it is just great cause and effect itself. Because this cause and effect is always the round fulfillment of causes and the complete fulfillment of effects, it has never accommodated discussion of falling or not falling, and has never accommodated words of being unclear or not being unclear. If they do not fall into cause and effect is a mistake. Do not be unclear about cause and effect might also be a mistake. Even when mistakes are put in their place as mistakes, there is falling into the body of a wild fox, and there is getting free of the body of a wild fox. There is also a principle whereby they do not fall into cause and effect, though a mistake in the age of Kasyapa Buddha is not a mistake in the age of Shakyamuni Buddha. Though in the present age of Shakyamuni Buddha, do not be unclear about cause and effect gets rid of the body of a wild fox. In the age of Kashyapa Buddha, a different principle may be realized. In the old man's words, "Since then I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives." What is this falling into the body of a wild fox? It is not that a wild fox which existed already lures in the former Hyakujo, and it is impossible for the former Hyakujo originally to be a wild fox. The assertion that the soul of the former Hyakujo leaves him and forces itself into the skin of a wild fox is non-Buddhism, and a wild fox cannot come up and suddenly swallow the former Hyakujo. If we say that the former Hyakujo subsequently changes into a wild fox, he must first get rid of the body of the former Hyakujo, so that he may then fall into the body of a wild fox. A master of Hyakujo Mountain can never be replaced by the body of a wild fox. How could cause and effect be like that? Cause and effect is neither inherent nor initiated. Cause and effect never idly waits for a person. Even if the response they do not fall into cause and effect is wrong, the respondent may not always fall into the body of a wild fox. If falling into the body of a wild fox were the inevitable karmic result of mistakenly answering a practitioner's question, then the Rinzais and Tokuzans of recent times, together with their followers, would have fallen into how many thousands and tens of thousands of wild foxes. Aside from them, the unreliable old veterans of the last 200 or 300 years would be countless wild foxes, yet none are heard to have fallen into wild foxes. So many wild foxes would be more than enough to see and hear. You may say that they have not made such a mistake, but in fact there have been very many outlandish and confused answers, much worse than they do not fall into cause and effect. Those who cannot even be placed on the periphery of the Buddha Dharma are indeed many. We should know them with the eye of learning and practice. Unless equipped with the eye, we cannot tell them apart. In conclusion, we should never say that as a result of answering badly, a person becomes the body of a wild fox, or that as a result of answering well, a person does not become the body of a wild fox. This story does not say what the state is like after getting rid of the body of a wild fox. but presumably wrapped in a bag of skin, there might be a pearl. Contrary to this view, people who have never seen and heard the Buddha Dharma say, when we have completely got free of a wild fox, we return to the essential ocean of original enlightenment. As a result of delusion, we fall into the life of a wild fox for a while, but when we realize the great enlightenment, we discard the body of a wild fox and return to the original essence. This is the non-Buddhist theory of returning to the original self. It is not the Buddha Dharma at all. If we say that a wild fox is not the original essence, and that there is no original enlightenment in a wild fox, that is not the Buddha Dharma. If we say that when we realize the great enlightenment, we have departed from and discarded the body of a wild fox, then it would not be the wild fox's great enlightenment, and we would make the wild fox serve no purpose. We should never say so. Story says that by virtue of a word of transformation from the present Hyakujo, the wild fox, which the past Hyakujo has been for 500 lives, suddenly gets free of a wild fox. We should clarify this principle. If we assert that when a bystander speaks a word of transformation, a bystander frees others from the body of a wild fox, then the mountains, the rivers, and the earth have been speaking countless words of transformation since the past, and those many words of transformation have been repeated again and again. But in the past, the old man has not got free of the body of a wild fox. He gets free of the body of a wild fox under a word of transformation from the present Hyakujo. This assertion casts deadly doubt upon the ancestor, and if we assert that the mountains, rivers, and the earth have never spoken words of transformation, then the present Hyakujo might ultimately lack the means to open his mouth. Furthermore, many past masters through the ages have vied to assert the expressions not falling into and not being unclear about cause and effect are equally valid. But if they have never attained bodily experience of not falling into and not being unclear about cause and effect within the stream of those very words, they consequently neither experience the skin, flesh, bones, and marrow of falling into the body of a wild fox, nor experience the skin, flesh, bones, and marrow of getting rid of the body of a wild fox. If the head is not right, The tale is never right. In the old man's words, since then I have fallen into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. Just what is the subject that falls? And just what is the object that is fallen into? In the very moment of falling into the body of a wild fox, what form and grades does the universe that has continued from the past have in the present? Why should the series of words do not fall into cause and effect, result in 500 repetitions? As for the one pelt of skin that is now at the foot of a rock on the mountain behind the temple, from what concrete place should we think that it has been able to come? To say they do not fall into cause and effect is to fall into the body of a wild fox, and to hear, do not be unclear about cause and effect, is to get free of the body of a wild fox. Even though there are instances of falling in and getting free, they are just the cause and effect of the wild fox. Nevertheless, since ancient times, people have said, because they do not fall into cause and effect, is an expression which seems to refute cause and effect. The speaker falls down. This assertion is without reason. It is the assertion of people who are in the dark. Even if the former Hyakujo has occasion to say they do not fall into cause and effect, he has the state in which it is impossible for the great practice to delude others, and it is impossible for him to refute cause and effect. Alternatively, it is said, the meaning of do not be unclear about cause and effect. In other words, not being ignorant of cause and effect is that because great practice is transcendent cause and effect itself, it gets rid of the body of a wild fox. Truly, this is 80 or 90% realization of the eyes of learning in practice. At the same time, in the time of Kashyapa Buddha, we have lived on this mountain. In the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, we are living on this mountain. Former body and present body, the faces of the sun and the faces of the moon, shut out the ghost of a wild fox, and manifest the ghost of a wild fox. How could a wild fox know its life for 500 lives, when someone says that a wild 100 lives by using a wild fox's intelligence? Then the wild fox intelligence has not yet completely known the facts of one life, and a life has not yet rammed into a wild fox's skin. When a wild fox unfailingly knows it's falling down in each of 500 lives, then reality is realized. It does not completely know the whole of one life. There are instances of knowing, and there are instances of not knowing. Given that body and knowing do not arise and pass together, it is impossible to count 500 lives. If it is impossible to count 500 lives, the words 500 lives might be a fabrication. If someone says that a wild fox knows by using intelligence other than a wild fox's intelligence, then it is not the knowing of a wild fox. What person could know these 500 lives of a wild fox on a wild fox's behalf? Without any road of clear understanding, through knowing and not knowing, we cannot speak of falling into the body of a wild fox. And if there is no falling into the body of a wild fox, there can be no getting free of the body of a wild fox. If there is neither falling in nor getting free, there can be no former hyakujo. If there is no former hyakujo, there can be no present hyakujo, which cannot be conceded at random. We should research in detail like this. Utilizing this reasoning, we should test and defeat all the fallacies that have been heard again and again throughout the Liang, Chen, Sui, Tang, and Song dynasties. The old non-man, moreover, says to present hyakujo, "Please perform for me the funeral ceremony for a deceased monk." These words should not be like that. Since hyakujo's time, countless good counselors have not doubted or been surprised at these words. The point is this: how could a dead fox be a deceased monk without having taken the precepts, without experience of summer retreats, without the dignified forms, and without the principles of a monk? If any such being may undergo at random the funeral ceremony for a deceased monk, all dead people who have never left family life, whoever they are, would have to be accorded the rights of a deceased monk. A dead upasaka or upasika, if a request were forthcoming, would have to be according the rights of a deceased monk, as was the dead fox. When we look for such an example, there is none, and we hear of none. No such ceremony has been authentically transmitted in Buddhism. Even if we wanted to perform it, we would not be able to do so. The words quoted now, that hyakujo cremates it according to the formal method, are not beyond doubt. It is possible that they are a mistake. Remember, there are set procedures for all the rites of a deceased monk, from efforts on entering the Nirvana hall to pursuit of the truth on arriving at the Bodhi garden, and they are not done at random. Even if a dead wild fox from the foot of a rock claims to be the former hyakujo, How could the conduct of a full monk be present in it? How could it have the bones and marrow of the Buddhist patriarchs, who will testify that it is the former Hyakujo? Do not despise and belittle the Dharma standards of the Buddhist patriarchs by idly accepting the transmogrification of the ghost of a wild fox as true. As the descendants of Buddhist patriarchs attach weight to the Dharma standards of the Buddhist patriarchs, never follow a request as Hyakujo does. It is hard to meet even one matter or one method. Do not be influenced by secular vulgarity, and do not be led by human sentiment. In this country of Japan, the forms of Buddhas and the forms of patriarchs have been hard indeed to meet, and hard indeed to hear. Now that, on rare occasions, we are able to hear them and able to see them, we should revere them more profoundly than the pearl in the topknot. Unhappy people are not profound in religious conviction. It is pitiful. It is generally because they have never recognized the relative weight of things, and because they are without the wisdom of 500 years, and without the wisdom of 1,000 years. Nevertheless, we should urge ourselves on and encourage others. Having been able to receive an authentic tradition from the Buddhist patriarchs, even if it is only one prostration, and even if it is only one instance of upright sitting, we should profoundly feel great happiness, and should rejoice in the great good fortune of having met what is difficult to meet. People who lack this mind, even if they meet the appearance in the world of 1,000 Buddhas, will not possess a single virtue, and will not be able to obtain a single benefit. They will just be non-Buddhists who idly attach themselves to the Buddha Dharma. They may seem in their mouths to be learning the Buddha Dharma, but real evidence of preaching the Buddha Dharma can never be present in their mouths. In sum, if some person who has yet to become a monk, be it a king or a minister, be it Brahma Deva or Sakra Devanam Indra, for the rights of a deceased monk, never allow it. Tell them to come back when they have left family life, receive the precept, and become a full monk. People who are attached to conduct and its rewards in the triple world, and who do not aspire to a noble position as one of the three treasures, may come bringing 1,000 dead skin bags to defile, and to breach the rights of a deceased monk, but it would only be a most severe violation, and it would not produce any merit. If they wish to establish favorable relations with the merit of the Buddha Dharma, they should promptly leave family life and receive the precepts in accordance with the Buddha Dharma and become full monks. In the evening, the present Hyakujo gives formal preaching in the Dharma hall and discusses the preceding episode. The principle of this discussion is extremely dubious. What kind of discussion might they have? He seems to say that the old man, having already completed the process of 500 lives, gets rid of his former body. Should the 500 lives mentioned now be counted as in the human world? Should they be counted as in the state of a wild fox? Should they be counted as in the Buddha's truth? Furthermore, how could the eyes of an old wild fox glimpse Hyakujo? Those who are glimpsed by a wild fox may be the ghost of wild foxes. Those who are glimpsed by Hyakujo are Buddhist patriarchs. For this reason, Zen Master Koboku Hojo eulogizes Hyakujo as follows. Hyakujo has intimately experienced meetings with a wild fox. Questioned by it, he is greatly ruffled. Now I dare ask all you practitioners, have you completely spat out a fox's drivel, or not? Thus, a wild fox is the eye of Hyakujo's intimate experience. To have spat out a fox's drivel, even in a half measure, is to be sticking out the wide and long tongue, and speaking for others a word of transformation. At the very moment of doing so, we get free of the body of a wild fox, get free of the body of Hyakujo, get free of the body of an old non-man, and get free of the body of the whole universe. Ubaku then asks, the man in the past gave a mistaken answer as a word of transformation, and fell into the body of a wild fox for 500 lives. If he had not made any mistake at any moment, what would he have become? This question is the realization of the words of the Buddhist patriarchs. Among the venerable patriarchs in the lineage from Nangaku, there is none like Obaku, either before him or after him. Nevertheless, the old man never says, I answered the practitioner mistakenly, and Hyakujo never says, he had answered mistakenly. Why does Obaku now casually say, the man in the past gave a mistaken answer as a word of transformation? If he says Hyakujo might be saying that the cause was the mistake, then Ubaku has not grasped the great intent of Hyakujo. It is as if Obaku has never investigated the mistaken answers and the answers beyond mistakes that Buddhist patriarchs express. We should learn in practice that in this particular episode, the past Hyakujo does not mention a mistaken answer, and the present Hyakujo does not mention a mistaken answer. Rather, using 500 skins of wild foxes, each 3 inches thick, the past Yakujo has experienced life on this mountain, and for the benefit of practitioners, he expresses it. Because the skin of a wild fox has pointed hairs in the liberated state, the present Yakujo exists as one stinking skin bag, which when we fathom it, is half a wild fox skin in the process of getting free. There is falling down and getting free, which is, at every moment, is beyond mistakes, and there is cause and effect, which at every moment speaks words for others. They are the evident great practice itself. If Obaku were now to come and ask if he had not made any mistake, at any moment, what would he have become? I would say he would still have fallen down into the body of a wild fox. If Obaku asked, why is it so? I would say further, you ghost of a wild fox. Even then, it would not be a matter of mistakes or no mistakes. Do not concede that Obaku's question is a proper question. If Obaku asked again, what would he have become? I would say, are you able to grope the skin of the face or not? I would say further, have you got free of the body of a wild fox yet, or not? I would say further, would you reply to that practitioner, they do not fall into cause and effect, or not? But Hyakujo's words, step up here and I will tell you, already include the expression, what will he become, is just this. Obaku steps up, having forgotten the past and oblivious of the future. His giving Hyakujo a slap is countless transmogrifications of a wild fox. Hyakujo claps his hands and laughs, and says, you have just expressed that a foreigner's beard is red, but is also a fact that a red beard is a foreigner. This expression is not the boldness of spirit that belongs to 100% perfection. It is barely 80 or 90% of realization. As a rule, even when we acknowledge 80 or 90% realization, there is not yet 80 or 90% realization. And when we acknowledge 100% perfection, there is nothing left of 80 or 90% realization. That being so, I would like to say, Hyakujo's expression pervades all directions, yet he still has not left the wild fox's den. Obaku's heels are not touching the ground, yet he seems to be stuck on the path of a praying mantis. In a slap and a clap, there is one, not two. Red beards are foreigners, and foreigners' beards are red. preached to the assembly at Old Kippo Temple in Etsu-U on the 9th day of the 3rd lunar month in the 2nd year of Kangen.